Okay, today we are going to use steps to add and subtract fractions with uncommon denominators. In this example, we have Jamie starts with 7/8 ounce of glue. After a project, 1/4 ounce of glue is left. Write an expression that can be used to find how much glue Jamie uses. Solve the problem. Show that your answer is reasonable. All right, so I'm going to mark this a little bit so I know what I'm answering. So he starts with 7 ounce of glue, or 7/8 ounce of glue, then has 1/4 ounce left. I want to know how much glue Jamie uses altogether. So this little picture here kind of models what's going on. So I have 7/8 glue to start with, and this is representing how much is left at the end. If we want to know how much he uses, we want to know this amount right here. So this is a subtraction problem. All right, so let's write 7/8 minus 1/4 equals, we want to figure out what that is. Now, if you notice, I stacked my problem here. I'm going to move it up a little bit. So I stacked it, and really I'm going through all of my steps. So I have a subtraction problem. I just wrote it down. Our next step is to find the least common denominator. So I'm going to list my multiples of 8 and 4. So I have 8, I have 4. I like to start with my lower number first. So if I have 4, 8, 12, and I'm going to stop because, hey, look at that. I already have an 8. I know if I have 8, 16, I want to find my common denominator, which is 8. So coming down here, I want to turn both of these fractions, going to my next step. I'm going to rewrite my fractions and then be able to solve. So I'm going to rewrite with a common denominator of 8. Okay. So my first one, to get from 8 to 8, you're just timesing by 1. I don't have to do anything much to this one. So that means up here I'm going to times by 1, so I get 7/8, right? Now down here, to get from 4 to 8, I multiply by 2. So up here, to get from 1 to this mystery number, I'm going to multiply by 2. So my new problem I just wrote is 7/8 minus 2/8, and that is going to be, I ran out of room, so right over here, 5/8. Now the last step we have over here is to simplify, but we're going to learn how to do that in our next lesson, so don't worry about that one right now. Let's do another example. So again, we're going to use these steps to be able to subtract these two fractions. So 2/3 minus 1/5. My first step, I want to stack my fractions. So I'll just rewrite them like this, 2/3 minus 1/5. And I need to find my least common denominator. So I'm going to make the multiples of 3 and 5 my denominators here. I'm going to start with my lower number, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I'm going to stop there because I know, hey, look, 15, I got a 5. If I count by 5s, 5, 10, 15. There she is. That's my least common denominator. So now that I found my least common denominator, I'm going to rewrite my two fractions with this common denominator and solve. Okay, let's do it in green. So both of these can turn into a fraction over 15. Now I need to rewrite my numerators. 3 times 5 is 15. So that means I need to do 2 times 5 to get 10. 5 times 3 is 15, so that means I need to do 1 times 3 to get 3. And I need to check my operation. I am subtracting, so 10/15 minus 3/15 is 7/15. And again, I'll simplify in our next lesson. All right, last example. 1/6 plus 3/4. Rewrite. So I'm going to come up here and stack my fractions. And I need to find my least common denominator, so I'm going to list my multiples. Start with 4, 16, 20. I could keep going, but I'm going to just try this here. Start with 6, 6, 12, 18, 24. I'm going to stop. I don't need to go much further because I find my least common denominator of 12. So now, next step is to rewrite and solve. So I'm going to rewrite my two fractions with a denominator of 12. To get from 6 to 12, I multiply by 2. So up here I'm going to multiply by 2. Same thing down here. To get from 4 to 12, I multiply by 3. Multiply by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Check your operation. We are adding, so 2 twelfths plus 9 twelfths is 11 twelfths, and that's my answer.